How did you get the? How did you get the wireless mic? Mine's got a cord.
I know people. Welcome to Rail Talk. I'm Alex Siegel.
And I am still Nolan Adams.
And we have Sprocket tonight. Well, Nolan, wave to the stuffed animal. All right, we've had quite a day of racing. Let's kick it off. Let's go straight to, I think, probably the spiciest racing of the night, the men's international omnium. Laps taken, caution thrown to the wind. Give me some highlights of what happened across all four events.
Well, we've already recapped, I believe, the first two races in the previous segment, but it was tight at the top. A lot of folks in contention, 5 or 6 riders, but in the evening session, which we're recapping now.
Microphone.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies.
We've improved our sound quality with these microphones, so we want to make sure
we have. We have. First up was the elim.
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah, in the evening
scratch and tempo in the morning.
Yep. In the elim, it was the consistent hitters in the final few spots, and so it actually didn't really change much at all.
Yep.
I will say, dialing it back just in advance of the points racing, there was a couple riders who lapped the field early on in the day in the tempo.
Yes,
and those folks with some positive racing with legs to back it up also were on the podium this evening.
So, Nolan, I'm actually going to cut you off because I think what's interesting as we think about that tempo race is lapping the field in the tempo doesn't actually get you 20 points for the omnium, right?
True.
It's just placings for that race. But I think what it really showed was the intent and the racing style of those 4 riders and the aggression that they were going to show later on. So
It wasn't the points, it was the point, right? It's what they showed us that mattered, right? It wasn't the total aggregate of points there. And so in the points race, which all of those points tally up to the final omnium scoring, it was led by Merritt Gallagher and Enzo coming into it, but they were not part of that group earlier in the night who had done the aggressive, positive racing off the front.
Yeah.
And so what we saw was a race that blew apart, had multiple people off the front. We saw some groups come together and blow back apart again, all led by the 4 that we'd previously mentioned, right? And so we had Otis Engel from Star Trek, Fenton Balfus coming to us from, I believe, the East Coast as well.
He's down in Hellier.
Yep.
So San Jose Bay Area for those less familiar.
Muscuzzi, as I say. And then I don't
Italian, sir.
And Jack Demar and Jaden Lee was consequential in that as well. And so they all were racing off the front, legs to back it up, and you had a couple riders who previously at the top, in Enzo and Merrick, who were just sort of being a bit too cagey, and the race got away from them. And so when you have a couple riders like that, Fenton Balfus especially, he lapped the field twice tonight. He lapped the field twice tonight.
Well, twice today, right? Once in the tempo, took a lap again in the evening, but I don't think they. So he took a lap solo.
Yes.
Solo lap. Got huge cheers from the beverage garden as he should. Because I mean, let's be honest, taking a lap solo on a 400-meter track is a remarkable feat. My favorite thing is, gets back to the field, goes straight through to the front. I love seeing that sort of aggression, right? Like no pause, no backing up. And then got off the front again in a group of 4 that basically took the points for, I want to say, probably the last 4 or 5 sprints.
Yep, they cleaned it up on the last, it was 3 or 4 sprints, and so that really rounded out the podium. Enzo was able to make the bridge up to that group when they stopped kind of being so cooperative, but that was the podium in totality there. We had Otis Engel on the top step, followed by Fenton Balfus, the most aggressive rider for sure tonight, and then Enzo sneaking on there just in the final couple sprints there.
Yeah, and I think what it shows is the omnium. Those placings, they'll put a gap of a couple points between each other, but really it comes down to the points race, and I think. Oh yeah, this one's on.
Yep.
Yeah. But really, when it comes down to that aggression and who's got the legs left in that points race to really make the race.
It paid off to be aggressive tonight. and as it does most nights. But we saw it on clear display here. Overall, the Omnium, impressive to watch. A lot of future stars in the making here, and just solid riding from those couple of riders.
Yeah. Well, look, we've been here all day. I don't want to be here all night. We don't want our viewers to be watching this all day. So let's move on.
Let's do that.
What would you like to talk about next?
I want to dive into the men's sprint, actually.
Okay.
And when I say I want to dive in, I want you to dive in because you're a little bit closer to the action. You know a little bit more. As much as I try to call out tactics from the booth up here during the racing,
don't do that anymore.
I shouldn't.
No.
It's all hot air. I know nothing.
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
Well, I think let's start from the morning session. I know those who've seen the dispatch from this afternoon might have seen. So started out real fast. Genuinely speaking, we had a new track record set by JC Pyle, going sub-11, first junior ever to do that on our track. Pretty remarkable feat on a track of this sort of geometry. So I think that really set the tone. We got into the semifinals. So your semifinalists were JC Pyle from the Jerry Baker Juniors, Gabriel Takagi, also from the Jerry Baker Junior program. We had Lee Bonilla, who was last year's reigning champion, down from LA on the Ironfly team, and then Andrew Ford, who is a relative newcomer to the track as well, like Gabriel, also from El Cerrito, Los Angeles area. So 4 guys.
Mm-hmm. And they did make up the top 4 qualifying times, which is a bit unusual because it was also so tightly packed.
Yeah.
There was only like a half a second separating the top 8 or so, and to have the top 4 qualifiers also making it into the semis, somewhat remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I think, generally speed, particularly in the early rounds, will show through, and it's a pretty good indicator. Seeing the top 4 get into the semifinals is, I'd say, pretty typical, particularly when you do see gaps of this sort. But those semifinals were so fun to watch. As a coach for Gabriel and JC, my anxiety levels are really high, not going to lie, but great riding because all of our semifinals went to 3 rides. And then our bronze final also went to 3 rides.
Yep.
So that means Gabriel Takagi and Andrew Ford both had to do 9 sprints today. 9 sprints, including their Flying 200, their morning rides, and then 6 tonight. Just an absolutely epic performance and super entertaining. The number of photo finishes I can't count. Corey with his trademark "whoa" as they cross the line. Just fantastic racing. A lot of fun to watch. Really good, fast kids, and they seem to like each other too. Down on the infield, I kind of wanted them to lock in, as it were, but they were having fun together on a bench. Special shout out to JC Pyle, who last year finished in 4th, this year climbed up to the silver medal, and then also Gabriel Takagi, new to the track, really put in a lot of work, and clearly tested positive for having that dog in him tonight. Really great riding. So our producer and show sponsor Andy Baker pointed out that our final ride between Gabriel and Andrew was decided by .007. Now, something I've noticed watching a lot of these races is that when it comes down to a photo finish, it literally does not get below .007. I think it is the way the timing equipment works and the impulses, and it cannot actually separate by more than .007. So I've seen that photo finish. It was less than the width of a tire. And so many great rides. So as close as it gets. Noah and I have been yapping about sprints, which I am wont to do. Why don't you bring us home? Give us the final standings for our top 4 riders.
In 4th place, we had Ford. In 2nd place and 3rd place, we had 2 Jerry Baker Juniors in Takagi and Pyle.
Yep.
And then on the top step, it was Luis Bonilla.
Yeah.
Impressive.
So, JC Pyle taking the silver, Gabriel taking the bronze. I'm going to look ahead a little bit to Saturday. Those 2 are teaming up for the team sprint. So I think we might see more records fall, and I think we might be seeing more hardware coming our way.
Fantastic. Great sprints overall from the men's field. Let's move on now to the women's Omnium.
Let's Why don't you speak into your microphone?
Alex, the women's IO 17-18 group, unbelievable. For one particular reason, Reagan Pattershall showed up and showed out. Unbelievable performance. I believe taking almost every consequential top point sprint placing, etc., 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 bar 2, maybe 3 at most, but just absolutely cleaned up.
Yeah.
There was no competition, and I mean that in the best way. She showed up, and it just blew the doors off.
Yeah. Yeah, Reagan is a class rider. You say unbelievable. I think actually, for those who've kind of been tracking, it is fairly believable. She, I believe, is the current or newly crowned American record holder. I think she set a new mark down at Elite Nationals in Los Angeles just a couple of weeks ago. So no surprise to see her at the 4 there. And I think she's been recently named to the long team for Junior Worlds for the U.S. So I think she'll probably be pretty soon headed to. Well, I know she's going to be headed to L.A. in a couple of weeks, or maybe in a week, and then probably to China to represent on the international stage. So yeah, I mean she's a phenomenal rider and showed just how good she is tonight. I think I watched and heard that she was already many points ahead and still won that final sprint in the points race. But there was a little more action in that final sprint, was there not?
There was. The rest of the placings were a bit tighter of a grouping. And in the final sprint, I believe it was Chen coming from California who took second on that final sprint to bump her up into the bronze medal position. So fantastic racing all the way, excitement to the end, just a little bit further down the Omnium scoring table that we would normally see.
Yeah.
But exciting racing nonetheless.
Yeah, no, I love when the podium is up for grabs and changes in that final sprint of the points race. Great stuff. Let's continue with that theme of dominance in the women's sprint. So Rita Fidwa is I'd say, relatively new rider to the track. Saw her down in Los Angeles, also putting in kind of more of the time trial events, so doing a 500 and team sprint, but showed that she can get off the black line and still win in a big way. Just dominated straight rides, 2 rides every time. I think multiple bike lengths throughout the night. So really showed what an overall skilled cyclist she is. She is also, I believe, our current BMX national champion for the juniors. So outstanding talent.
Quite the crossover.
I mean, BMX and track sprinting, we've seen it many times before.
That's true.
Yeah. Jamie Staff famously made that transition. Sinead Reed. So a lot of BMXers have successful track careers. I think that just bring it home on the podium there. So it was obviously Fidwa in the gold medal position, Maya Brothers from Star Trek in silver, and then Sarah Vargas from the LA area. She's a pretty young rider. I want to say like 15 years old, something like that. I think she was racing 14, 15 last year. So real young rider picking up the bronze medal in the women's sprint. But that racing was not as tight as the men's race, but still fun to watch. And we're back. This is the moment of the night where we really lean into our Olympics NBC local favoritism. Let's talk about some of the younger category racers. Nolan, hit me. Don't actually.
All right, I guess this mic was just dead the whole time. I'm not really sure what's going on here. But in the 13-14 men's field, we had none other than Keegan Fairbanks, a local fast prodigy, if you will, on the come up. I see that. I say it way too much, but he is on a trajectory that has no limits yet. But dominant performance in the scratch. Dominant. I think that the bunch had some play to it, some sketchiness, sorted itself out eventually, but Keegan took the victory home.
Yep, he did. So first of 3 Omnium rides that we're going to see over the course of the rest of this weekend.
Correct. It is not a traditional international Omnium. They get their own special side Omnium, but only 3 races. But this was the first of those 3. Yep. 2 more tomorrow, I believe.
So we had to check our notes. Long story short, it is not an international Omnium. It's a special favorite. It's actually kind of scored almost like the old Olympic style, where you want to basically have the lowest number of points, which is based on your placing in each race. But nonetheless,
can you say that Keegan did really well, and we're proud of that, and that's awesome? That's a Hufflepuff.
Harry Potter references notwithstanding, I don't even know what that means. But yeah, Keegan, first of all, picked up a gold medal. If he can keep that up, we'll turn that into a jersey in the Omnium. Great racing for him. Mm-hmm. In the 13-14 women's field, so sticking with the same age group. Again, I'm hoping I get the name right. Aina Chen won, and also 2 really strong rides from local riders with Sarah Lynch in 3rd and Charlotte Westover in 4th. So good rides on that kind of wide-angle podium, picking up bronze chocolate medals, and very much in the running. Not bronze chocolate, but a bronze and a chocolate medal, and very much in the contention for high placings in their Omnium as well. We have had a special guest on this show. This is what he's most famous for at our track, not the fact that he announces every night. A guy named Corey Edwards.
That's true.
And he has a child.
Does he?
Well, two children. Also, someone named Amara seems to be involved in all this.
I've heard of her.
Yeah.
An Enigma. Yeah. I've not met her yet, but I aspire to.
Yeah. They have a child. Their oldest child. Yeah. Who happens to be named like she was born for this. Cadence Edwards.
Is that who that is?
That's who that is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. She did great tonight.
Yeah, she did. I heard this was her first real race ever of all time on a track bike.
Yes.
I saw that she had done the track camp maybe a couple weeks back.
Velo. Yep.
And this was the first race weekend for her, and she took silver.
Yeah, it was
in the U11s.
Last week.
1 week.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep. So great ride, Cadence. Congratulations. We have borrowed your sprocket, but it's coming home to you tomorrow. Look, with that, any final words? We got 2 more days of this. It has now been coming up on 15 hours since I left my house. So it's time for bed.
We should go home.
We should go
Not
home.
to the same home. Well, I don't know. What's for dinner?
It's 10 o'clock. There's no dinner left.
All right, then I'm going back to my house.
It's almost 11. We're going home. We're back here bright and early. Another great day of racing tomorrow. This keeps going on. I'm getting the head shake from Andy. Good night.